Hello and welcome to PTV World's exclusive interview with the former Foreign Minister and Chairman of Pakistan People's Party, Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Thank you very much, Mr. Bilawal, for joining us today and taking the time out. My first question is going to be with response to what is happening, of course, in the aftermath of the Pahalgam attack. And we have seen, of course, that India's aggression and violation of international norms and traditions have been given a befitting response by Pakistan in a retaliatory action. What's your take on the government's response?
Thank you so much for having me. Pakistan has been on the receiving end of first accusations by the Indian government following that terrorist attack that we all condemned. Pakistan had consistently offered for an impartial international investigation into the incident, knowing full well that our hands were clean and demonstrating our commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms within Pakistan and within the region. Unfortunately, our calls for sanity were ignored. India rebuffed Pakistan's very sensible and legitimate offers for a peaceful solution. And we saw how on the night of the 6th and the morning of the 7th, India launched their illegal attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure in Pakistan, resulting in the martyrdom of men, women, and children, the destruction of mosques, and even damage to our dam. Pakistan demonstrated incredible restraint. We acted purely in self-defense when our brave armed forces, and particularly our Air Force, shot down 5 Indian aircraft on the night of that initial assault. But despite our restraint, India continued with its aggression and has continued for the subsequent 3 days. They launched 80 drone attacks within Pakistan that were bravely and valiantly shot down, but that too resulted in the loss of life, of civilian life. And then we saw how last night, in a departure from everything that they had been stating, they demonstrated once again that India says one thing and does another. They said that they were conducting a limited strike against terrorist infrastructure. They've been unable to name a single terrorist that was killed in their attack. The next day when they were, I wonder which terrorists they were targeting in Karachi and in Lahore and other major cities across the country. And ultimately they did attack military installations along with our civilian cities using missiles. So their aggression has been on display. And Pakistan, in line with international law, after demonstrating 3 days of patience, has finally responded proportionately, responded rationally, and within the confines of international law under Article 51 of the UN Charter. We are exercising our right to self-defense. Pakistan has a right to defend ourselves. We've always prioritized peace, but not at the expense of our survival, not at the expense of our sovereignty, and certainly not at the expense of our dignity.
Absolutely, and Pakistan has been making this stance very, very clear to the international audience as well. And while we welcome the calls for de-escalation, are you satisfied with the response of our international partners to the situation?
As far as the international community is concerned, I think that they have demonstrated from the outset that while everyone, including Pakistan, has expressed condemnation and condolences as far as the terrorist attack is concerned, the desire for us to see those who were really involved in this attack brought to justice, the international community has demonstrated great foresight. This time, unlike times in the past, they haven't gone along with every lie, with every fiction that was brought forward by the Indian side. India has sort of become the child who cries wolf in South Asia. If after every terrorist attack, without any proof, you're going to just blame Pakistan, eventually people are not going to believe you. And I think what we saw this time from the international community, that they acted very responsibly by largely supporting Pakistan's demand for an impartial, neutral inquiry. And it's India that has been running away from Pakistan's demand, from the international community's calls for an international inquiry. And it's up to the people to decide that why is India being so secretive? What does India have to hide? Why are they shying away from an international inquiry. Our hands are clean. We are confident that an international inquiry will not only prove Pakistan's innocence, but will help us going forward in providing us with a forum that can address any such complaints from either side going forward.
While we, of course, take a look at the BJP-led government and Modi's regime, we have put forward with credible evidence India's links to state-sponsored terrorism and the kind of actions that is being taken by the state. But will they be met with consequences? Because so far, a lot of what has happened since 2019 and now, and even decades before, has not been met with any accountability.
As far as action against terrorists is concerned, Pakistan's own complaints against India are not based on a fantasy. We have caught Kulbhojan Yadav on our territory. He has confessed to his crimes. The Indian government is on the record at Sharm el-Sheikh that they have supported terrorist and separatist elements in the province of Balochistan. We as Pakistan, I as foreign minister and the foreign ministry and the government of Pakistan in general has continued to supply evidence, proof to the United Nations and various other forums of India's involvement in such activity. Pakistan has faced accusations in the past, but unlike India, Pakistan has addressed those accusations. Pakistan was on the FATF grey list. We no longer are. When I was foreign minister, we were taken off the FATF grey list officially, which means the international community recognizes that Pakistan has taken action and against terrorism and terrorist financing within our country. It is India that has demonstrated no desire to follow up on what they said at Sharm el-Sheikh. They continue to support terrorism within Pakistan, so much so that after everyone in Pakistan condemned, after all, everyone in Pakistan condemned the terrorist attack in Maqbuza, Kashmir. But when a couple of weeks earlier there was the Jafri Express attack within Pakistan, there was not a single statement of condemnation from India, and subsequently the role of India in this and other attacks has been presented before the media and presented before other forums. India to this day cannot tell me and cannot tell you and cannot tell the world that who is this Pakistani terrorist that was involved in the terrorist attack in occupied Kashmir. How did he get into Kashmir? Where did he go after conducting this attack? If he was in a terrorist hideout in Pakistan, there must be some evidence of him coming and going. Surely it would have been more efficient had they shared this evidence with us. If their terrorist attack, if they truly were just targeting a terrorist attack, then they'd know from these supposed so-called precision strikes against terrorist infrastructure. They'd know exactly the names of the terrorists that they killed, which attacks they were involved in. But to this day, India cannot share these truths with the world. And that is why ultimately Pakistan will win. They may be bigger, they may have more resources, but we have truth, facts, history on our side. Their war is based on a lie. Their war is based on division. Their war is based on hate. Our stance is based on truth. It's based on reality. Our people are united not because of fear, not because of division, not because of hate, but in the name of our martyrs and to protect the dignity and sovereignty of our land. We have demonstrated that India may be larger than us, but our Air Force has demonstrated that they, while less in number, are far more efficient in the skies, and our armed forces will demonstrate that while they may be larger in number, as the saying goes, the larger they are, the greater they fall.
Right, agreed. But my question remains, who is going to hold India accountable?
As far as holding India accountable, that has been Pakistan's stance between not only at the United Nations, but in front of the international community. It is for the international community and these very international institutions to hold, whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan or any other country, to account. That is why we set up these institutions after the world wars, to ensure that we had peace in our time, that our disputes were resolved through the course of international law and at the forum of these international institutions. But it is India, because their case is weak. because their case is unjust, because it is not based in international law, because they have no hope of succeeding at international forums, have time and time again, whether it's the question of Kashmir and their right of the people of Kashmir to self-determination through a plebiscite and India's obligations to international law through the UN Security Council and its resolutions. India has refused to abide by them. Whether it's the 2019 actions of unilaterally changing the status of this internationally recognized disputed territory and continuing with their repression and suppression of the people of Kashmir, or it's their latest response to unilaterally and illegally depart from the Indus Water Treaty, which is the gold standard of diplomacy between any two countries. As far as holding India accountable, all of these forums are designed to hold India accountable, and they must hold India accountable. If they can't hold India accountable today, then tomorrow they won't be able to stop the next country. We are seeing internationally that international law is being stretched, international institutions are being challenged.
Correct.
But I think that this is all the more reason for Pakistan and all those in the international community who believe in international law, who believe in a community of nations, to stand our ground, to not be bullied, to not cower in the face of these so-called regional powers such as India, who try to use their might, try to use propaganda, try to use lies to bully their way in the international order. And that is a case that Pakistan will fight. We're currently fighting it in the battlefield and in the skies, and we'll continue to fight it in the platform of diplomacy in the United Nations and elsewhere.
Absolutely. In the current scenario, what will be Pakistan's demands from these international platforms?
In the current scenario, Pakistan is the aggrieved party. India is the aggressor. So it could legitimately expect for the United Nations and other such forums not only to call out to the aggressor, but to ensure that sanity prevails in Delhi, that they cease their hostilities, their aggressions, force them to accept Pakistan's demand of an impartial international inquiry into not only this, but any other future terrorist attack, to ensure that we don't continue this perpetual cycle of violence, and at the same time to also ensure that India, when it comes to the table, not in the shadow of bombs or missiles or drones, but in an atmosphere of peace, and has a genuine dialogue. And only through dialogue and diplomacy can India and Pakistan ultimately address this and any and all issues that are pending between us.
At the heart of the matter, of course, is the issue of the occupied valley. Will that also be able to be addressed at the international platforms that we're suggesting?
As far as the issue of the unfulfilled promises to the people of Kashmir made by the United Nations, the international community, but also by India and Pakistan, while Pakistan believes in peace, believes in dialogue, and diplomacy is the only way and the only pathway forward, if India seeks to ignore the question of Kashmir, then I believe that any peace in South Asia will be short-lived. We will be unable to address broader issues. We will unable to achieve lasting peace and stability. We will be unable to effectively counter terrorism unless India is ready and willing to accept UN Security Council resolutions, abide with the promises they made to the UN and to the people of Kashmir, allow them to speak, allow them to choose their own destiny. As long as this wound is left festering, then we haven't addressed the root cause. And if you don't address the root cause of a problem, those problems have a nasty habit of reappearing time and time again.
How will the current situation de-escalate?
The current situation can only de-escalate when the aggressor ceases hostilities. At the moment, Pakistan is not escalating. We are defending ourselves. We are responding to unilateral, illegal Indian aggression. The aggression was started by India, and for there to be an environment conducive to de-escalation or dialogue or a peaceful solution to these problems, it must start from silence on their side. Let the cease fire begin by them silencing their guns and silencing their arms. They must follow through their words with their actions. Then Pakistan can legitimately consider reciprocating and pursuing a path for peace.
I'm just hearing reports that through the US's mediation, there has been a full immediate ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Your comments on that?
Obviously, I, along with the people of India and Pakistan, would welcome that. It is India who is the aggressor, so any ceasefire would surely begin with the aggressor ceasing.
Thank you very much for your time. I'm glad we had the chance to chat.